I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight...
Lies. Lies. Lies.
Lies. Labour lies. I reveal the damning list of both lies and sleaze that prove how many times Labour have misled the public. And... Eritreans fight each other on the streets of Britain again. Is the UK now a dumping ground for the world's problems? Plus...
We need to build the homes, and we're doing everything we can to turn the tide of decline and build the houses that people desperately need.
If actually the reality is that a lot of those homes are going to go to people who've maybe just arrived across the channel, maybe some people will be fine with that. But I think people would have a right to say, well, hang on a minute. I hate to say I told you so, Labour will put asylum seekers and foreign nationals in those brand new houses in rural England. Will it happen in your town? And Big Brother is watching you. Bev Turner joins me live shortly. New permanent facial recognition cameras. Is it dangerous state control? Also. Oh, sorry about this. Easter's been cancelled at one primary school in the name of diversity. Yes, they are doing Refugee Week later, though. That's great, isn't it? And... hard left radicals are smashing up Teslas to protest Elon Musk. His father, Errol, joins me live also tonight.
It's the most emotional experience that a person can go through to know that what they're working on is something that has reached a generation of people.
The wokest film ever, Snowflake and the Seven Snores, is tanking. Empty cinema seats right across the country. Gosh, you hate to see it. Oh, and can anyone please tell me what is so special about these cows? They are very special cows. On my panel tonight is Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser, and former Tory Party chairman Sir Jake Berry. Oh, and what on earth is happening here?
There's Remy and his siblings. And this is Wren and their siblings.
Ah! All that and more. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Good evening. Is Labour the party of sleaze and lies? Let's start with the sleaze. Chancellor Rachel Reeves took £600 worth of free tickets to see a concert by Sabrina Carpenter, who ironically has a song called Buy Me Presents. Let's have a little look, shall we, at what we think Rachel Reeves' income might be per year. So today it was announced that MPs' salaries are rising by 2.8% to around 94 grand a year. As Chancellor, she reportedly receives roughly £67,000 a year on top of that. Her and her husband, a senior civil servant, reportedly make 74 grand a year as landlords, and his salary is reported as being as much as £174,000. So that is a combined total of somewhere in the region of 402 grand a year. So she still takes freebies, does she? Well, of course, it was all for security reasons.
I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Did you pay for them? Because you could pay for them.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for, so there wasn't a price to those tickets. Obviously, I will declare that the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy.
Okay. What? Well, these weren't tickets. Oh, you couldn't pay for those tickets. Oh, come on. But her own colleagues have had enough of that, and I'm not surprised, really. Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander slapped Reeves down this morning.
I haven't taken any tickets, to be honest, since I was elected back in June as a new Member of Parliament and going straight into the Ministry of Justice and then coming straight into the Department for Transport. I actually, sadly, haven't been to see any concerts at all over the last 9 months, partly because I've been very, very busy.
Would you take tickets?
I have never, as a Member of Parliament, I have never accepted tickets to any concerts.
Yeah. The Chancellor has already made cuts for pensioners, cuts for farmers, cuts for the disabled And today, it's been revealed that she's about to cut £500 million from state schools. This is after her VAT raid on private schools has forced some of them to close. More sleaze now. Angela Rayner, Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, randomly went to Ethiopia. The trip cost the taxpayer 20 grand. There is no good reason why she needed to be there. But here we go. It turns out Ms Rayner asked if she could go on a taxpayer-funded private safari trip while she was there, and civil servants had to tell her that wasn't really appropriate. This is from the woman who jokingly tells a story about how the Prime Minister invited her round to his number 10 flat, and when he left the room, she just opened a bottle of whiskey and helped herself. It turned out that was a precious gift from a dead friend. I mean, who does that? What kind of person just comes round to your house and just opens a bottle of whiskey and helps themselves when you're not in the room? Oh, sorry, a raging socialist. Now, of course, we've got the mistruths as well. Forget, you know, the little things, like whether or not the business secretary was actually a solicitor, whether or not the Chancellor actually worked as an economist, or whether the Prime Minister deliberately represented foreign Islamist terrorists. Just the little stuff. Anyway, Keir Starmer reportedly told 25 porky pies in just half an hour at last week's Prime Minister's Questions. 25. These include things like ignoring the fact that Labour's new employment rights bill imposes £5 billion of cuts onto businesses, including 67% of small businesses who will now probably close or at least stop hiring new staff. He said the Tories opposed raising the minimum wage. That is not true. The Conservatives did not oppose the rise to the minimum wage, and the Tories actually raised the minimum wage by 72% since 2010. Starmer says that he's investing in policing. Police forces say they're actually going to have to cut the number of police officers. Starmer said, we're speeding up new infrastructure projects, slashing red tape, getting Britain building. The reality? He's created 27 new quangos, £5 billion a year in new regulation, and cut housing targets in cities. But whilst we're on housing, another thing they've been very squiffy with is who is going to live in these new houses. More on that later, by the way. But no doubt there will be foreigners and asylum seekers. The Prime Minister said, we've announced the largest defence increase since the Cold War. Not true. He's confirmed £6 billion worth of funding, but claimed that it would be £13 billion. Conceivably, Prime Minister Keir Starmer could have to come back to Parliament to correct the record 25 times based on last week's PMQs alone. On Wednesday, the Chancellor will stand up and announce a spring statement that may very well make you and everyone you know poorer. And just think about this. It is staggering how easily mistruths roll off the Prime Minister's tongue. It is astonishing how bad the stench of sleaze is around this Labour government. Let's get thoughts of my panel. We are joined by Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larsner, and the former chairman of the Tory party, Sir Jake Berry. Let's deal with sleaze first, shall we, Carol?
Yeah.
So you've got Angela Rayner there, requesting a taxpayer-funded private safari in Ethiopia, and you've also got Rachel Reeves taking £600 worth of concert tickets, despite the fact that her and her husband, seemingly anyway, have a joint salary of £402 grand a year.
You know, she said this was the right thing for her to do. Rachel Reeves wouldn't know the right thing if it smacked her in the face. You know, the right thing to do was not to accept free tickets in the first place, not just because her and her husband between them earn £402,000 a year, but because it is not the right thing to do. Yes, I know they're allowed legally to do it as long as they declare, but there is a caveat in that says public perception must be taken into account. And the public perception here is that she's greedy, she's on the take, she's brazenly on the take. You know, this all comes hot on the heels of Starmer and what he was doing with free clothes, free glasses, free whatever. There was a massive scandal about that, and she's doing this. There was a massive scandal about the Taylor Swift concert, and she's doing this hot on the heels of that. It's either because she's thick, She's stupid, she's greedy, or she just doesn't care. She didn't come into politics to actually do the job to be Chancellor. She came into it for the perks, because that's what it's looking like.
Well, go on, Matthew. You're shaking your head at that, and obviously we don't want any kind of unnecessary personal attacks on Rachel Reeves here, but I must say, I think this is the strength of feeling out there. There's going to be a statement on Wednesday where she's going to stand up and make decisions that may well make people poorer. And a lot of people feel that's the result of her own incompetence. And here we are, £600 for a Sabrina Carpenter ticket. I mean, presumably she stood up and applauded and knows all the lyrics to the song Buy Me Presents.
Well, I've never heard of Sabrina Carpenter myself, so you know, I need to get down with the
just a fan of the Carpenters. Sabrina, it's a bit too modern.
Exactly, a bit too modern for me. Look, I mean, I don't know, but I think it's quite likely that the person she went with is her daughter, and I think that she did that for, she said, for security reasons. You know, these tickets were given by the venue, so it's not like it was a bank that she's regulating who came along and were providing the tickets. The venue obviously thought it was the most appropriate person. I'm not sure that people want, you know, armed police sitting around them if they're in the ordinary seats and getting in the way from other concert goers. But the optics, I understand.
So basically what you're saying is that she's afraid of coming into contact with the British public?
Not at all. I'm sure that she comes into contact with the British public every week. She does a surgery every week in Leeds in her constituency, and no doubt, and she meets people on visits across the country all the time.
She has security all the time. She had security in the box as well. She could have been heard from the box. It's a pathetic Weasley excuse.
Angela Rayner's private safari that thankfully for once the civil service appears to have stepped in, Sir Jake, and said that would be absolutely ridiculous if you went on a private safari on a trip to Ethiopia that there's already no point you being on.
Well, look, I mean, the first thing is Angela Rayner is the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government, basically charged with improving the planning system, building houses and fixing the potholes. None of those are actually going that well for her. Why on earth she felt that she could go and bring her sort of her genius of political acumen to people in Ethiopia? What I find really distasteful about that, truly leaving aside the private safari, that's a matter for her and she obviously didn't take it, is that it cost us, the British taxpayer, £20,000 for her to go on that vanity trip. Let's put that into context. That's probably the entire tax paid by a working family, or maybe two working families in this country. You GB News viewers are going to work every single day of the year so your tax can pay for the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government to visit Ethiopia. It is not a responsible use of taxpayers' money. Well, it's not a responsible use of taxpayers' money. And I think that's really... And I did just want to say on the Rachel Reeves things as well. So, look, I completely understand. I've worked with protected ministers when I was in government, that there are different concerns around people like the Foreign Secretary, the Chancellor and the Prime Minister. And it is right for Rachel Reeves to go in the box. But she should pay for that box personally. She's going to declare it costs £600. I'm sure she could afford the £600. And what is really bad about it is, you know, things change in politics. And when I was an MP, you got offered lots of tickets. And I actually took some once to go to the races because I love horse racing. But things change. The British public has moved. And the fact that she and Keir Starmer, who's still got his box at the football, are ignoring that shows they don't care about what the British public think.
I'm absolutely sick of politicians saying that they need to do these things for security. What about our security, all right? What about the fact now that sexual assaults are going through the roof? What about the fact that knife crime's everywhere? What about the fact that we've got illegal migrants committing all sorts of crimes and hanging around primary schools? It's us who need the protection, and the people who make the decisions that make us less safe, they get to go.
We just want to be insulated from the world, don't they?
Free box somewhere, just in case a member of the public does something. We're the ones who have to put up with armed police at Christmas markets, yeah? They don't, if you go, they just swan around. They'd have their own personal armed protection. They could bring a Christmas market to Downing Street if they really wanted to. It really winds me up.
The Labour Party spent years castigating the Tories for exactly this kind of behaviour, and it didn't take that. They've been in power for 8 months and they've been caught out so many times now for doing this.
I don't think they rumbled any Conservatives getting free clothes and free spectacles.
I want to hear from Matthew on this, because the other aspect to this, so we've done the kind of sleaze bit of it, is the idea of lies. Now, Nick Timothy, a Conservative MP, put together a thread of 25 examples there. Some of them were crushingly boring, which is why I didn't read them all out. Some
aren't true.
welcome to the House of Commons.
Fair enough. Well done, Nick. I'm just saying, you know. But of times that Keir Starmer basically lied at the dispatch box at PMQs. This guy has got... he lies with ease, doesn't he, Keir Starmer?
Not at all, Patrick. I mean, look, Nick Timothy's a Tory MP. He's desperately trying to re-ingratiate himself with the Tory party because he was the guy who came up with the Mincher tax.
So is what he said wrong, Matthew?
When he worked for...
You're deviating.
So is what he said incorrect? Is Nick Timothy lying or is Keir Starmer lying?
Well, I mean, some of them just simply aren't true.
Name one.
The one about the increase in national insurance all being about the Tory black hole, saying it's more was raised in the national insurance, employers' national insurance rise than even Labour's claim on the black hole. That is true. Nobody would dispute that because the extra money is going into the NHS. And so what the Tories saying? Well, they want to leave more than 7 million people on waiting lists.
Let's talk about the black hole. This is the black hole that the Office for Budget Responsibility has refused to acknowledge ever existed. We know exactly what happens here. She taxed people to the tune of 40 billion. She borrowed 30 billion because she wanted to spend more on public spending. And funny enough, that was 70 billion, which is what that adds up to. Now she's created her own black hole. Rachel Reeves lied on her CV about her qualifications. So this woman fibs all of the time.
Matthew, on Wednesday, Rachel Reeves is going to stand up at that same dispatch box and issue a spring statement. The last time that Keir Starmer was at that dispatch box, he stands accused of lying 25 times. How can anyone trust Labour?
Well, if any of those were misleading in the House, then the Speaker would call him back and get him to apologise to the House.
Should Keir Starmer resign? If he's found to have misled the House, should Keir Starmer resign? Because, of course, he repeatedly called and ultimately succeeded in having Boris Johnson removed as our Prime Minister because, sin of all sins, he misled the House of Commons. So if Keir Starmer has, on 25 occasions, Boris, I think, was accused of doing it twice. If Keir Starmer's done it 25 times... No, misleading the House twice, if you read the report. If he's done it 25 times in the course of one Prime Minister's questions, as a former senior Labour Party advisor, do you think he should resign?
I don't think he is going to be found to misled the House. It's a hypothetical question, Jane.
And well, hypothetically, should he resign if he did?
Do we remember in the Boris Johnson era when his mates were paying for his wedding and they were bringing him food that was in Dalesford organic bags that were being left at the end of Downing Street when the rest of us were queuing outside supermarkets. So I'm not going to take any lectures from the Tories on these things. I personally, if I was in the cabinet, I'd take the Heidi Alexander approach, and I wouldn't take any tickets. Exactly. I think number 10 will be pretty cross that Rachel has headlines on this and not on today, which is pothole day, which the government wanted to talk about. Fixing them,
would they?
But you know, I think that they should all perhaps realise that if you don't go to a Sabrina Carpenter concert, it's not the end of the world.
But Keir Starmer is still going to a free box at the football every single week.
So I understand.
The Telegraph reported today.
Well, but that's on security. I mean, if it is, it would be because the...
Yeah, but he could pay for the box. It's the same argument.
I think he is.
Let's move on. I've got a lot more coming away. We're talking about quotes unquotes lies, about betrayal, etc. I personally think the biggest betrayal of all is going to be about housing, and it's going to be about these 1.5 million new homes in England alone, and who is going to live in those homes. And I've been calling it for a very long time here on this show, and the truth is now out. It is going to be asylum seekers. It is going to be foreign nationals. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. But, of course, we do really want to make your spring spectacular here at GB News. And it is the latest Great British giveaway. This is how you can win £17,777 in tax-free cash. Here you go.
Spring has sprung with a Great British giveaway, and we're giving you the chance to splash out this season with an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Jet off on your dream holiday, treat yourself to something special, or just save it for a rainy day. You'll also receive 2 brand new designer watches and a Mulberry handbag, so you can really look the part this spring. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, get a load of this. Facial recognition cameras will become a permanent feature in one London suburb. But how long before they pop up on every British high street? Bev Turner joins us to talk about the start of a dystopian nightmare. But first, a Hampshire primary school, well, complete outrage because protests earlier today erupted after cancelling Easter celebrations. They cancelled Easter. Why? Because they wanted to respect diverse religious beliefs. OK. Is it really inclusivity to cancel Easter? Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Interesting research here, because on the one hand it looks as though awareness of ADHD and the symptoms is rising because of TikTok and influencers promoting the symptoms of TikTok, but there's also research that suggests that usage of TikTok itself can cause ADHD. So how do we kind of untangle this?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? It's a double whammy, really, because I think, as you say, on the one hand, you've got this almost like social contagion of increased awareness of symptoms that either are ADHD or, as you have pinpointed, mimic ADHD. And we know that increased and excessive screen time, not just TikTok actually, but all social media time, mimics ADHD. Anyone that has a child and has witnessed their own child spending, obsessive time scrolling through social media or gaming and seeing what that does to a child, particularly, I think, young children's attention.
Yeah, my best friend, she was telling me, oh, yeah, I've known her since she was 4 years old. And she was chatting to me the other day and she goes, you know what? I've got ADHD. That's, well, if you've got it, I've got it. It's ridiculous. There are so many people saying they've got it. It's getting to epidemic proportions. Isn't it a bit ridiculous, all these people claim they've got it? What is it? What is it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I completely agree. I think it is absolutely ridiculous. And I agree. I'm being tongue-in-cheek about TikTok. I do. My personal view is that TikTok is uniquely awful. I think it is absolutely mindless. Does anyone ever feel good after scrolling on TikTok? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people. So, I do accept these platforms are different for different people. I do think, though, we have to really ask, why is there this apparent explosion of ADHD and this rush for everyone to diagnose themselves?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Coming up, do you consent to facial recognition cameras in your area? But first, is it really inclusivity to cancel Easter? It's time now for the head-to-head. Well, there have been protests today outside a Hampshire primary school after teachers took the decision to cancel Easter celebrations in a bid to respect diverse and religious beliefs. Pupils at Norwood Primary School have been preparing to take part in the Easter Bonnet Parade and an Easter service in just a few weeks' time. But in a letter sent out to parents, which caused significant outrage after it was shared on Facebook, the school's head teacher said this: We understand that this change may be disappointing for some, especially those who've cherished these traditions over the years. However, we believe that this decision aligns with our values of inclusivity and respect for diversity. The head teacher added that in the spirit of celebrating said inclusivity and diversity, pupils will, of course, be taking part in Refugee Week in June. In September last year, Ofsted inspectors concluded that the quality of the education at that Hampshire school, can you guess it? Must be outstanding, mustn't it? Must be tip-top. No, it requires improvement. Oh, well. Tonight I'm asking, is it really inclusive to cancel Easter? So, going head-to-head on this now, of course, is the wonderful broadcaster extraordinaire, Emma Trimble, and, of course, we are joined by commentator Fahima Mohammed. Thank you very, very much. Emma, I'll start with you, if that's OK. What do you think about this? Is it really inclusive to cancel Easter?
No, of course it isn't. I think it's fundamentally wrong and the headmistress should be ashamed of herself. To say that you're cancelling Easter out of respect for diversity or out of respect for a diversity of religious faiths is absurd. It's using diversity as an excuse to target and erase the majority culture of this country. And that's not just about those who are practicing Christians. It's the history of this country. People seem to want to pretend that this country has no background, that we didn't arrive at where we are with all of our values of tolerance and so on without a religious background. We are a Christian country to our bones. And whether you're a practicing Christian or a cultural Christian, regardless of whether or not you believe, many people around the country, British people, celebrate Easter. It's part of our calendar. And it's an absolute abomination to use this as an excuse to erase the culture, the religious traditions of this country.
All right, Fahima, I'll bring you in now. Same question to you. Do you think it's really inclusive and diverse to cancel an Easter bonnet parade?
Well, I think we need to consider that the UK is not legally a Christian country, and it is also an uncodified constitution. And we are moving with the times with everything else. So I guess it's the similar way with this state school. It is not a religious school, so it can change its policies however it chooses in order to be fair, because it's not actually cancelling and banning Easter or Christianity. It's just saying that a religious service, a worship, a prayer is not going to be held. There might actually be even other sort of, religious education and studies where schools will show all religious faiths, and that's how they will learn about it. But it doesn't have to be exclusive to one faith, which is diminishing, and it's not about bringing up minority groups to have them exclusive. It's more about the demographic that has changed in the UK, where majority of people are agnostic or atheists, and it doesn't reflect the society that we're living in right now. And that's what they mean about being inclusive, about people who do not believe in anything at all.
Emma, I can see you shaking your head furiously there.
Yeah, well, respectfully, that's historically and factually untrue. We have an established church in this country. We are legally, factually, constitutionally a Christian country. The monarch is the head of the Church of England, whether he acts like it or not. The fact is that even if you say we have an unwritten constitution, I mean, you're comparing us with countries like the United States or America. They have their own distinctive history, whereas we had the common law. We still have the common law. We have a constitutional history in this country that doesn't require some kind of codified written constitution for it to be real. And frankly, the idea that this isn't the targeting of Christianity specifically, I mean, GB News' own Ben Leo had a look on their website. It was very clear that they've been having assemblies on every other religion, including Chinese New Year. So they are obviously very interested in celebrating other cultures, other faiths. It's just Christianity that they have a problem with. And that's something that we have seen in other institutions as well. It's not just this primary school. It's a general trend in this country. And I repeat, it is factually and historically untrue to say that we are not a Christian country. We are.
Fahima, do you think that there is a chance here that Muslim parents just didn't want their children to take part in anything Easter/Christian related?
I don't think so at all. If anything, Muslims do actually respect the revered Jesus Christ. In fact, we don't even just call him Jesus Christ. After that, we say peace and blessings upon Jesus Christ. So it's not about that. This has become commercialized, and most people that are upset is not because they're trying to appease the Muslims. We actually don't mind other faiths or our own. It's just that if it's going to be of one particular faith, which is not the predominant or the majority in today's society, then in fact the UK will have to have all faiths have their worship in there. And I'm one of those Muslims that would like to pray and practice privately. We don't have to do it outside, even if other people do. I call up my own community.
Just for the sake of clarity, Fema, I'll stick with you on this. You know, like the Easter bonnet parade and thing, you know, that's not like a religious thing, right? That is... might be called the Easter bonnet parade. It's just like a thing that kids do, where, like, they put different hats on, they do different things. It's always a bit like an Easter egg kind. It's just quite a nice thing for kids to do, really. And, like, when I was doing it at school and we did things like that, it was more of just, like, a nice community thing. So it's not really all about religion. I just wonder if there's been a bit of a misunderstanding here. I mean, the school clearly was worried about causing offence, presumably to people who weren't Christian, Fema.
Probably they were, because again, it just distinctified that it was actually a service that it cancelled, more importantly, the actual prayer, the worship, which won't include majority of people that are not Christian and, like I said, who are actually atheists. It's not political correctness to actually say that they are actually not having a worship or a prayer.
Okay.
It's just to say that it's just fair for everyone that does not actually believe in the same thing.
Emma, do you want to come back to a few things there, then?
Yes, I do. That this, you know, this is out, like you mentioned, you know, people celebrate, you know, Easter bonnet parades. I have very fond memories of that myself. You know, this isn't just about Christianity. This is our culture in this country. And if we actually want to have a tolerant society, then schools should be teaching minority cultures that they also need to respect Christianity and the traditions of this country.
Well, no one actually said that the minorities are the one complaining. It was an actual person. It's just propaganda to say that. In fact, a lot of Muslims don't have a problem with that. It's not a Muslim thing either. So don't make it that. Don't make it like it is that. It's probably about the atheists who have absolutely no faith, no religion, which is the majority represented in this country.
And they should be tolerant to the culture of this country, which is Christian.
They can be tolerant, but they don't have to have a prayer. It's about teaching in religious education. It's not a religious school. It's an actual state public school for everyone.
This is the thing. You could be tolerant, you could not go, you could not observe it, you could have an alternative thing that runs concurrently with it. Cancelling it for the people who do actually care about it, I find slightly odd. I mean,
it's just one school. Maybe it's just carrying forward the demographic that is in that area, particularly. Maybe it's not like that everywhere else, and that's how it probably is for that. And that's what I meant, that legally there is not one sort of religion where everyone has to follow, and it's not a uncodified constitution.
I take all your points on board, absolutely. I think, unfortunately, not for you necessarily, but just unfortunately in general, the school has decided to hide behind the banner of inclusivity and diversity in order to make this decision. Now, they might regret doing that, but they came out and said this is why. Maybe if they'd have been honest and said, actually, we don't have a single Christian at this school, it doesn't make sense for us to do it. I mean, I would still argue maybe they should do something, but they didn't say that.
And people are just assuming the worst, that it's Muslims that are actually against it when it's not. So let's just make that clear.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's assuming it's Muslims. I think it's just more cultural weakness, I suppose. But anyway, thank you very much, both of you. Take care. Have a lovely evening. Right, police are currently hunting for 22 men after a massive fight broke out between different factions of the Eritrean community in Sheffield last May. It follows similar incidents in South London in 2023 and, unfortunately, some violent clashes between Muslims and Hindus in Leicester quite recently. What is going on? Have we imported sectarian violence onto our streets? But first, Bev Turner's going to be with us, GBNews' very own, because facial recognition cameras will become a permanent feature in one London suburb. But how long before they pop up on every British high street? And is this the start of a dystopian nightmare, or do we need them to keep us all safe? Stay tuned.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello, here's your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see some warm sunshine across parts of the Mediterranean over the next few days, but plenty of showers too. And certainly on Tuesday, a mixture of sunshine and showers across the Canaries, across Madeira. Fewer showers across Spain and Portugal, so some sunshine here. But notice across the central part of the Med, plenty of showers, some heavy, even thundery showers around, and brighter skies the further southeast you go across Turkey and Cyprus. Over the next few days, showers mainly in the east, brighter skies the further west you go.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
See, you, Anne, are much more sophisticated than what I am.
Oh, yeah?
So do you like these sort of Fashion Week things? Are you into all that?
What, you mean like London Fashion Week?
Yeah. Do you like that sort of thing?
I used to. I find it all a bit of a bore now. But, I mean, I used to love going along to London Fashion Week. Yeah, because actually sitting there and watching them all on the catwalk, I mean, is quite exciting.
You see, it's just I've seen this in the papers this morning.
Oh,
and it's Paris Fashion Week at the moment. And this designer, Hodakova, who's Swedish.
Oh,
apparently.
know her well.
So there's her latest design.
It's a lady wearing a cello.
Yes, she's wearing a cello, and there's someone else wearing a violin
as a hat. Now, the violin...
Oh, there you go.
Well, actually, the violin is ridiculous because it's so big.
But the cello... It's
but
just...
why is a lady wearing a cello? I mean, it looks stupid.
It's a second-hand cello.
Well,
so she hasn't designed... What has she designed? Well, she put some Legos in it.
Can't be very comfortable. I mean, how do you sit down in a cello?
And there's no armholes.
No. Honest,
you can't scratch your nose.
That's how you get a headline, isn't it? But it's not fashion.
But apparently they're all the models are wearing smudged eyeliner, which looks like someone's done their eyeliner with a Sharpie. And that's...
Very Bieber, that is.
Inspired by punk rock.
I used to go to the clothes show in Birmingham. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember the clothes show.
Tim Vincent.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very big deal, but I think those days are a bit over. It's a bit like Meghan's programme on Netflix. Those days are over. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very dated to be pretending to be the perfect hostess and you just spend hours arranging fruit on a plate. It's just not done nowadays. We're all a bit more practical.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody. So coming up, are we importing third world violence onto our streets? But first, facial recognition cameras will become a permanent fixture in one London suburb, marking the first fixed deployment of this technology in the UK ever. The Met Police announced today that the technology will be used in Croydon permanently as part of a pilot project. However, I, like you, have serious concerns that this might just roll out across the entire country. Starting this summer, these cameras will scan passers-by, instantly checking them against a database of wanted criminals, including rapists and burglars. Officers are then alerted if there is a match, but the data, they say, is immediately deleted if there isn't. And the cameras are being credited with helping police make hundreds of arrests so far. I mean, some privacy campaigners have, of course, raised major concerns, branding the move as part of a dystopian nightmare. There have even been unconfirmed reports that the cameras have led police to arrest the wrong person. Joining me now is GB News superstar Bev Turner. Bev, thank you very much. Look, some people will clearly say we have spiralling rapes, sexual assaults and knife crime, and therefore anything that can clamp down on that or help to is a good thing. Where are you?
And that is what we're meant to think about this technology, Patrick. But I would just say to people, we have never had so much CCTV in our country, and we have never been less safe. So even on a basic metric, it just isn't working. This facial recognition, live facial recognition, has not been voted for by the public. It has not even been voted for in Parliament. It is operating completely out of any sort of legislative jurisdiction. And actually, when you say there are cases which haven't been verified as to whether there have been mistaken identities, there actually are. And Big Brother Watch, which is an amazing organisation, a civil liberties organisation, campaigning group, they have cases on their website, and in fact, they're fundraising at the moment. And to give you an example, there's a guy on their website that they talk about, Sean Thompson, who works for an amazing organisation called Street Fathers, and they work with boys that might go into crime. And Sean was actually working for them, and he's a black guy, and actually ethnic minorities are much more likely to be misidentified by this technology. And Sean was working for his organisation. On his way home, he gets collared by 3 or 4 police officers who get him in a corner and say, "We've just recognised your face from our camera." And he said, it's not me, it's genuinely not me. And even the police sort of admitted it probably wasn't him, and he had his passport. And he said, "Look, I'm a youth worker. I get kids off the street, I get them away from crime." But they still kept him for half an hour and massively inconvenienced his life. There are other examples, because it's not just the police, Patrick, that have these powers. It's private companies who will stop people going into shops if they think that they're a shoplifter. And it isn't always accurate. And there's a case on Silky Carla's website, as I say, on Big Brother Watch, of a young girl who got misidentified. She was newly at university in Manchester. And she talks about the fact that she was crying, she was embarrassed, she was humiliated. She'd never been in the shop before. She'd just moved to town. And she was told by the company that it was human error that had given rise to that misidentification. But it's okay, it's only human error. And that poor girl now feels like she can't prove her innocence for a long time. She said she had days where she couldn't prove it wasn't her. So it does go wrong.
I mean, there's been a case that I heard of a bloke who was wrongly identified as a suspected murderer. And that's quite a hard thing to get shaken off, isn't it? But it's also, for me anyway, just completely ridiculous. I don't know about you, Bev, but every time I'm out and I get on the London Underground or I go out, I just go outside the studio, actually, there's always lads, and it almost is always lads, who've got the full balaclavas on or masks on, and you think, well, who's this facial recognition technology really going to catch? Do you trust them when they say, they promise you that they are deleting all of this data if it doesn't match any crimes?
Well, of course not. And I would say, even if they're doing that now, the other question that I always ask people when we talk about this surveillance, you know, we've seen all sorts of people. Even it's not even about the Labour Party. All the parties are all kind of united on this. You know, Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, was saying it's a logical step in our crime fighting. They're all sort of assuming this is just going to happen, and nobody's really questioning it. I say to people, who is the politician you hate most in the world, be that alive or dead? People will often say, you know, Donald Trump or whatever at the moment. I think picture the politician you hate the most and imagine this power in their hands. It might be left, it might be right, it doesn't matter actually. You know, during the pandemic, I was on the government's watch list. They had a file on me because of the position that I took during that period of time. I had to ask for that with a subject access request. So I was considered to be a threat to the state. I now feel fully vindicated for the things that I was saying, in fact. But that's the danger with this. When the crime can be just plucked out of thin air, then that is any of us on the street, Patrick. We work for GB News. It's very controversial.
Well, and it's the extent. It's the extension of use as well. You know, if they bring things in like you're not allowed to smoke in parks anymore, and they slap a facial recognition, and I'm in an empty park at 2 o'clock in the morning, and don't ask why I'm there, of course, but it's about 2 o'clock in the morning having a cigarette. I mean, do I get a £60 fine through? If we have another kind of lockdown, it's the extension of these powers, isn't it? Bev, look, just before I go to the Metropolitan Police police statement here. I've been told in my ear, thank you very much for making an appearance, especially so late in the evening, because I know you have to be back in here early in the morning. I believe you are actually in your pyjamas, aren't you? You've just managed to throw a jacket on.
You sorted out, Patrick Christys. I've got my thermal leggings on, look. I'll give you just because it's you, I'll give you a shot of my thermal leggings. Yeah, I have got my pyjamas on, Patrick.
Well, thank you very much.
Only for you do I stay awake late at night. There you go.
Thank you. Well, Bev, you take care. I'll be watching tomorrow, the wonderful Bev Turner there. Now, a Met spokesperson said this. The Met is committed to making London safer, using data and technology to identify offenders that pose a risk to our communities. Last year, we made more than 500 arrests using LFRs, facial recognition, removing dangerous individuals who were suspected of serious offences, including strangulation, stalking, domestic abuse and rape. We continue to engage with our communities to build understanding about how this technology works. Coming up, the cat's out of the bag. Labour have finally admitted it will be putting asylum seekers, refugees, all these people in the 1.9 million new homes that they've promised to build. Where are they going to build them? Well, the rural English countryside, so that's that gone forever, isn't it? But first, police are hunting 22 men after a massive fight broke out amongst Eritreans in Sheffield. It's the latest in a long line of sectarian foreign violence on the streets of Britain. That's next. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading into tomorrow, more cloud across central and southern parts with some spots of rain. Brighter in the north, though, with some warm, sunny spells. A different story tonight, though. Cloudier across the north with outbreaks of rain spilling in as a result of these frontal systems moving through this evening and overnight. Most of the rain largely light, but we could see some heavier spells across exposed coasts and northern areas. Eventually, this cloud and rain sinking southeastwards, moving into northern parts of Wales, northern parts of England too, and quite blustery for a time, particularly across Scotland. Across the south and southeast, staying dry with clearer skies and lighter winds, so it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the morning, and it will be a slightly chillier start here too. Across Scotland to start the day into tomorrow, most of the rain will have cleared away, perhaps just leaving a remnants of cloud, and can't rule out the odd shower just skirting across the Northern Isles, and still rather blustery here too. Quite a murky start across Northern Ireland, grey skies and some quite low cloud, and fairly similar across northern parts of England and Wales too, perhaps even seeing some spots of rain and drizzle. Across the south and southeast, a brighter start once any mist and fog clears, but through the course of the morning we'll continue to see this band of cloud and rain sink its way southwards, so any brighter skies soon being replaced by cloud, but any rain largely petering away. Turning brighter across Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some sunny spells here, rather dry but still the odd shower just skirting the Northern Isles, and with lighter winds it should feel rather pleasant in the sunshine with highs of around 14 to 15 Celsius, but even where we see that cloud linger across the south, still rather mild for the time of year. Into tomorrow with clearer skies, likely more mist and fog to start the day, perhaps some patchy frost. But through the course of the day, as a ridge of high pressure builds, there's going to be plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and southern parts. But we'll soon see a change once again into the northwest with more cloud and outbreaks of rain here. And it's likely the majority of us will see more rain as we head towards Friday, quite windy at times, and temperatures returning more towards average.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
please bring us up to date.
Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Coming up, well, the cat's out the bag. Foreign nationals, asylum seekers are going to be put in brand new houses, potentially right at the back of your garden. But first, police in Sheffield are now hunting 22 Eritrean men. Massive fight broke out between different factions of the Eritrean community. Where is that? Oh, Sheffield. And it was last May, but now we've only just got the pictures of the men that they want to talk to. So presumably they've not gone back to Eritrea. 18 people have so far been charged, but police are still searching 22 more. It comes after 4 police officers were injured in South London in 2023. Again, the Eritreans kicked off with each other. In 2022, Leicester was engulfed in violent clashes between Muslims and Hindus. I'm going to bring in the former editor of The Sun, Kelvin Mackenzie. Now, Kelvin, thank you very much. Are we now being turned into a dumping ground for all the world's problems?
Well, the issue with the Eritreans is they've been fighting for 30 years. And I suspect there's between the pro-independence and the anti-independence. I happen to know a lot about it. Why, I don't know. But the truth about the matter is they will be fighting for another 30-odd years. And this doesn't only happen in the UK. It happens in Germany, Israel, Canada, Switzerland. And the issue always happens, or normally happens, around about Independence Day, which it turns out to be May the 25th. It was shocking violence. The violence in Camberwell, in South London, in 23 was so awful that I read some detectives said simply he'd never seen anything like it against police officers who were simply trying to keep the two warring factions apart. They're a divided country. It's a shocking place, Eritrea. I'm sure you haven't been there for your holidays.
No.
It's a shocking place in which no free press, no elections, and this has been going on for 3 decades.
We've got third world drama playing out on the streets of Britain, haven't we? Whether it's with the Eritreans or whether or not it's elements of the Hindu or Pakistani community fighting each other in pitched battles.
Can I say something about your previous debate? I am wholly and 100% in favour of these videos. And if they'd had those videos at the time, they used this kind of technology, which is only being based in Croydon at the moment, they'd had that technology, they wouldn't have had to have issued those photos almost a year later. They could have probably started looking at them in the community from the beginning. So I disagree with you and Bev about that particular issue. But you're right. Why have we got fighting going on which has nothing to do with us, and which is a very complicated area involving something that happened 30-odd years ago between Ethiopia and Eritrea. And, you know, this is stuff of which we know not, and we really shouldn't get involved. And how do our police officers end up? How do they feel about the fact they become punch bags about a political battle that they have had nothing
this is it.
whatsoever to
And
do
I'm
with?
sorry, but it also doesn't show much respect for the country that you are in. I mean, if I moved to one of the Middle Eastern countries and I decided to have, you know, if there was a pitched battle in the streets between Manchester United and Manchester City fans, I imagine they'd deal with it rather swiftly, rather brutally, and you might not do it again. But over here, you can just crack on. Just quickly, Kelvin, there's another story. I mean, it's a devastating one, really, and it relates to a school disco in Essex that turned sour when some blokes with machetes turned up and they had to flee the disco, all of this stuff. I mean, this is total full-frontal lawlessness, and people don't seem to care where they're bringing these knives to, do they?
Yes, and those people didn't come from the Havering area. They came from London. They came down. They caused absolute mayhem. A number were arrested. Some people were frightened out of their lives. People were being chased onto trains. All kinds of terrible stuff happening. But the problem now in our country is that there's so much of this that this isn't even a big story anymore. Your show will be the only show, I guarantee you, on any network television that even looks at this in the smallest way, because there might be aspects to it which are going to create insensitivity among communities and all that kind of nonsense, right? This is a terrible thing. It happened in a primary school, although it was about a state secondary school, which is where the problem was. But so nobody cares anymore. And the people of Havering, what can they do about it? You know, the MP doesn't get involved. The local council doesn't get involved. The police actually do their best and do arrest people. But actually, there will be another Havering next week and the week after.
Absolutely. Kelvin, thank you very much. It's always a massive pleasure. Tremendous to have you on the show, and I look forward to talking to you again very, very soon. Kelvin Mackenzie there, former editor of The Sun. Coming up in just a couple of moments' time. The cat is out of the bag. This is, I think, Britain's biggest ever betrayal. Labour have admitted who will be living in these 1.9 million new homes that they've promised to build, many of which will be in rural England. Who's it going to be? I'll give you a clue. They usually arrive via small boat. Stay tuned.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading into tomorrow, more cloud across central and southern parts with some spots of rain. Brighter in the north, though, with some warm, sunny spells. A different story tonight, though. Cloudier across the north with outbreaks of rain spilling in as a result of these frontal systems moving through this evening and overnight. Most of the rain largely light, but we could see some heavier spells across exposed coasts and northern areas. Eventually, this cloud and rain sinking southeastwards, moving into northern parts of Wales, northern parts of England too, and quite blustery for a time, particularly across Scotland. Across the south and southeast, staying dry with clearer skies and lighter winds, so it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the morning, and it will be a slightly chillier start here too. Across Scotland to start the day into tomorrow, most of the rain will have cleared away, perhaps just leaving a remnants of cloud, and can't rule out the odd shower just skirting across the Northern Isles, and still rather blustery here too. Quite a murky start across Northern Ireland, grey skies and some quite low cloud, and fairly similar across northern parts of England and Wales too, perhaps even seeing some spots of rain and drizzle. Across the south and southeast, a brighter start once any mist and fog clears, but through the course of the morning we'll continue to see this band of cloud and rain sink its way southwards, so any brighter skies soon being replaced by cloud, but any rain largely petering away. Turning brighter across Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some sunny spells here, rather dry but still the odd shower just skirting the Northern Isles, and with lighter winds it should feel rather pleasant in the sunshine with highs of around 14 to 15 Celsius, but even where we see that cloud linger across the south, still rather mild for the time of year. Into tomorrow with clearer skies, likely more mist and fog to start the day, perhaps some patchy frost. But through the course of the day, as a ridge of high pressure builds, there's going to be plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and southern parts. But we'll soon see a change once again into the northwest with more cloud and outbreaks of rain here. And it's likely the majority of us will see more rain as we head towards Friday, quite windy at times, and temperatures returning more towards average.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could have £17,777 in tax-free cash to play with this spring. Cash to spend on anything you like. And if that wasn't enough, we're also going to give you not one, but two sought-after designer watches and the latest Mulberry handbag. How would winning that sound? For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised. Fist.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Patrick Christys tonight. It's coming up to 10 p.m. Loads coming your way, including what I think is the ever of Britain. Who are Labour going to be putting into these 1.9 million new homes that they're going to be dotting up, supposedly, around England? I'm also going to be talking to Elon Musk's father, Elon Musk. Why? Well, people have set about torching Teslas, trying to give Tesla Uber drivers one-star reviews to put them out of business. All of this stuff, mainly because they wanted to protest Elon. Well, I thought I'd go to his dad, see what Elon really makes of all this, and also ask him a couple of other quite important questions as well, especially in relation, by the way, to Elon's trans child, who has decided to take to social media to really get stuck in to his father. So we're going to be talking about all of that. I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you, and I am hoping a little bit later on that I might be able to introduce you to some very special cows indeed. Yes. So before all of that, though, we are going to kickstart with what I do think is the biggest betrayal arguably in British history. Labour is planning to move asylum seekers, illegal migrants and foreign nationals into brand new housing developments, quite possibly near you. Now, I sat on this very sofa and I warned you about this before the last election. I warned you in June, then I warned you in July, then I warned you in September, December, January and February. And you know what happened at the time? People on the left, they said this is dangerous, racist scaremongering. This will never happen. Well, what's happened today? It's proven to be the truth. And I want to read this to you now because it's a new document published by the Treasury's new Office for Value for Money. And this is what it states. It makes clear that Sir Keir Starmer's plan to build between 1.5 and 1.9 million new homes in England by 2029 will help reduce the need for asylum seekers to be funnelled into hotels. Well, what do you make of that, then? Is that not cast iron guarantees that Labour are going to put asylum seekers in these new houses that are quite possibly going to be built at the back of your house? But, oh, don't worry, you'll have a say in vetoing where these houses are built, won't you? Oh, no, because it looks as though local councils are going to have some of those powers stripped away from them. Instead, planning officers are going to be deciding where these houses are put. So your elected local officials will not have much of a say when it comes to vetoing them. And, get this, though, I mean, this is the real shocker. According to Labour's Planning and Infrastructure Bill, I'm going to quote this again now, local councils, the same ones who will not really be able to object to where these houses are built, will have a statutory duty to engage with, quotes, racial, ethnic and religious groups. So what does that mean? Again, for you, in your area. Where are these houses going to be built? Well, because of the sheer number and volume of houses that Labour have promised to build, they are going to have to be built on a lot of green belt land. That means the English countryside. It means areas with a strong sense of English culture. It means areas where people, OK, may have been born into, but they also might have worked hard, paid tax all their lives, saved up and chosen very deliberately to go to live. Places with a strong sense of English culture. And Labour is going to slap a housing development on there and quite possibly move in a load of Somalians, Eritreans, Iraqis, Afghans and, of course, the Sudanese. The number of people in asylum hotels has risen significantly under the Labour Party. We are set for a record year of channel crossings, and that has happened despite sending hundreds of millions of pounds to the French, who today on GB News were filmed waving as small boats set sail. Asylum appeals are up 500%, and the news network Al Jazeera, who I must admit I don't think often do fine work, but they interviewed some Sudanese men who were on their way to Britain, and they asked them, why? Why are you coming here? And they gave a very clear answer. They said because it's easier to get asylum here, and 98% of Sudanese asylum seekers were accepted in 2023. So they all know the score, don't they? It's easy to get to Britain. It's easy to stay in Britain. Now, mark my words, I've said this before, and I'll say it again now. They are going to use these new homes to change the English countryside and the English way of life there forever. And the stats, unfortunately, do prove that where you have high influxes of immigration, both legal and illegal, crime also goes up, both violent and sexual. And I wonder whether those lovey-dovey left-wing Refugees Welcome Brigade will start to change their tune when the Afghan men move in. I mean, you hear things from Angela Rayner. Bridget Phillipson did a tweet, for example, just yesterday saying we've got however many thousand new Sparkies to go and help build the homes of the future. I want you to always ask this question. Who is going to live in those homes? Because now we know. And I will say this to you. It is not racist to want your area, the place that you live, maybe the place that you were born, the place that you want to raise your kids. It's not racist to not want to turn that into a third world dumping ground. And where are the homes for British veterans? Where are the homes for young single mums? Where are the homes for vulnerable pensioners? Where are the easy, affordable homes for a recently married young couple who work hard and pay their taxes but are on 2 relatively low salaries? No, those homes are going to go to other people. Let's get thoughts from my panel this evening. We've got Carol Malone here with us, Daily Express columnist. I mean, we were calling about this, we were saying about this, we were told this was all rubbish, this was lies, this was racist nonsense. It's happening. Homes are going to be built, brand new homes, and they're going to be given to Eritreans, to Afghans, to Iraqis, etc., before British citizens.
You know, there will be riots on the streets if this actually happens, you know. And the thing about it, if I was from those countries, I'd want to come here too, because why wouldn't you? If you're going to get a free house, if you're going to live in a 4-star hotel with laundry service and room service, and if you're going to be there for a minimum of 4 or 5 years, which this paper also says, that they're going to be there for that long, I want to come. So the very simple thing we have to do is to make coming here less attractive. If we said to everyone coming here, if you don't come here with legal paperwork, you don't get housing, you don't get benefits, you don't get support, you have to go after, you'll be deported. They would not be coming. France puts up their asylum seekers in tents. We are the only country that I know of that puts asylum seekers in hotels. And what I hadn't known until I read today is that if you come here as an asylum seeker, your very first day, you are given some form of housing, some sort of shelter. What happens when someone in our country, when a Brit who's lived here all their lives falls on hard times? Our homeless are left to rot on the streets. Walk outside the studio under the underpass. There's 20 tents there of homeless people because they don't have anywhere to live.
There are people who work here at GB News, and I'm not saying this, by the way, because I'm one of them, and people very close to me as well, who don't want to walk home from work
because of that.
Because there's a roundabout full of illegal immigrants just there.
Yeah.
You know, why is that?
But, you know, why are we the only country that, you know, there are a few countries that take most of the refugees, and we're one of those countries. And we are probably the most popular country because of the... We have no obligation, we have no duty to provide houses and free hotels for migrants. We should build massive detention centres, put them in there. It's not quite so attractive then.
But how dare Labour build a load of new homes and put asylum seekers in there?
Well, I don't think they're going to, Patrick. I honestly believe that's not going to happen. Well, what it actually says, what it says, Carol, is that the provision of new homes will ease the need for hotels. I think the reason is partly because what the government wants to do is 2 things on asylum. One is it wants to do offshore processing, which is really important. It's now looking, which I was always saying.
With Rwanda.
The difference with Rwanda was going to be exporting the problem to Rwanda. People were going to be dealt with under Rwandan law. This is about doing people in the Balkans under British law, just as the Italians are doing it under Italian law in Albania. So offshore processing is hugely important so that people never come here, so they're not being put up in hotels.
Are you saying that's
because
in
they're doing
process
it
now?
It's the government. The government is actively looking at it now. Yes, it's been. And
why is there a document that says that these new homes, 1.9 million new homes in England alone, in the next 4 or 5 years, is going to help ease the use of asylum seeker hotels?
Because what's going to happen is that frees up other accommodation. So it's not that the asylum seekers go into these hotels. What they want to do is they want to buy low-quality housing, which is not like family homes, which are going to be the ones that are being built, which is what you see Angela Rayner wandering around in a hard hat. No, what they're going to do is effectively get what Carol was talking about.
Second-hand houses.
No, not second-hand houses. What they're going to do is effectively get sort of student-style accommodation, but not as glamorous pyjamas or some student-style accommodation, because we've got to get people out of the hotels. I mean, Jake, you know as well as I do that the bill the Tories ran up to keep people in hotels for month after month.
But Matthew, it's less...
more migrants in hotels than there was under the Tories.
Well, it's less than the current government spending. I'm not saying the Conservatives got everything right. We certainly didn't. But actually, Keir Starmer came in. He said he had a plan. He said he was going to smash the gangs. He said he was going to get the French to stop people on the beaches. None of that has happened. We have record numbers. The facts are we have record numbers of people crossing. We have record numbers of people in hotels. And even given all of that, we're granting record numbers of them asylum. Matthew, this is going to be a scandal of huge proportion in the country. Even if, those brand new houses go to British people who are currently living in second-hand houses and the government buys those very expensive second-hand houses and puts asylum in them, that doesn't make it OK. It's not the fact that these houses are new, it's the fact that they are being given houses and hard-working families. No, of course, what they're going to pay for them? Hard-working families up and down this country are grafting every single day to pay a mortgage, and you just arrive here, chuck your passport over the side of a boat as you get here and you get a free house. That is a disgrace.
Sorry, it's also where these houses are. Because if you are building a lot of these houses, by definition, you need to build some of them on the green belt. And a lot of people in local communities wanted the opportunity to maybe veto some of these housing developments. Now, I agree that sometimes people have been too NIMBY-ish. I agree with that, OK? However, if you then remove powers from the local council to object to things, you remove powers from residents to object to this, and then you slap a housing development at the end of someone's back garden where the woods currently are, and then you bus in 30 Afghans... In rural England, that changes it forever, Carol.
Yeah, well, of course it does. And this has been the plan all along. Labour keep on saying that the plan is to exit hotels within the next 4 years. The bottom line is they're saying that because the Parliament's going to be finished and they're going to be out and it won't be their problem anymore.
Well,
Jake.
Well, look, I think it's right to say that communities haven't been welcoming enough to new development. That's one of the charges you can lay at the door of the last government. We need a country where communities say, do you know what, if I look out my front door, every house is full and I've got 3 kids, so where are my kids going to live? If you want communities to accept development, you have to sell them the idea, the dream, the reality that you will build houses in the vicinity where your own children can live. If that suddenly becomes, we're going to build 200 new houses on the edge of your village, and by the way, not one of them will go to a local family, they will all go to asylum seekers and foreign nationals who've come to this country in the last 18 months. You think you've got objections to building houses now? People will be rioting on the streets.
And they will, but also, and I'll put this to you, Matthew, because there are parts of Britain where people deliberately choose to live. And actually, one of the great ironies is look at Boris Johnson. The guy who's responsible, who, by the way, I like Boris, right, and he might be watching now, so sorry about this, Boris, but I think you deserve it. You're responsible for the Boris wave, who then... off to the Cotswolds, right? Where in his local area, I'd looked at the census before I interviewed him last time, and I haven't got the figures to hand now, but it's one of the whitest parts of the country, right? That guy was perfectly happy to have the Boris wave, which saw massive levels of immigration, which fundamentally changed British culture and society, etc., 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 multiculturalism, and then chose, because he's got enough money, to go and live in one of the whitest parts of Britain, right? Now, people choose to live in certain places because they like the quaint, rural, traditionally English culture. And now, I will put this to Matthew before I go to you. If Labour decide to build a load of houses and then bus in a load of people who have radically different cultures, is it racist to have a problem with that?
I don't think it's racist to when your community's changing and when you see people you think are having an unfair advantage in the system come into your area. I had lunch with a Labour MP last week who represents a 98.5% white constituency, and this Labour MP told me that one of the police had come to him and said they've had a very small number of asylum seekers, but who are clearly from a very different culture, and actually the police have warned that for the safety of the asylum seekers, there's an issue about having people in that community, particularly, because if there was more community tensions, they worry about how they could deal with it, just because it's so, it could kick off. So, I mean, what I think we need to do is get a grip on the asylum system. I agree with you, Jake. I don't think the government's done enough just to smash the gangs. I don't think it's done enough to stop the boats. So that's why I've always been in favour, I've said it on this sofa time after time, I've always been in favour of offshore processing, which is what the whole of Europe is aiming towards. Let's have people process that they never come here. So they're not in a hotel, they're not in a migrant centre.
What do you make that sense that you change the fundamental culture culture of a town or village by introducing people from Somalia, Sudan.
It's not necessarily about someone living in a white area. It's not that. You know, there are lots of parts of this country where people are assimilated, people with brown skin, black skin, white skin, they're perfectly well assimilated. What people are objecting to with these asylum seekers is the cultural difference, their attitudes to women, their attitudes to crime, their attitudes to sex. So that's what destroys...
And the fact that often young men as well.
Yes. And it's not
families.
Their skin, it's their culture and where they come.
And it's also the fact it's a group of young men which you wouldn't want...
That is going to change everything. That is going to make people in the area terrified to let their kids go out, terrified to let their daughters go out. It's not...
Do you think this is part of this politics of envy that we've seen from the Labour Party? They come in, we have a brilliant school system in the private school system, which they say, well, let's set out and destroy that, rather than looking at increasing the standard of state schools, which, you know, 98% plus of the British population, like send their kids, like I do, send their kids to state schools. So they say, we've got, you know, let's destroy private school. And now they're saying there's all these areas of the country which are really nice, traditionally not Labour-controlled, so let's drag them down to other areas.
I think Rainer...
It is they don't understand Britain. They don't understand what we value, and they have this sort of nihilist approach to Britain that actually, if they just trash the whole country, give them all votes, they'll all keep voting Labour. That's what I think it's about.
Why don't when a Brit gets made homeless, why aren't they immediately put into a forced hotel?
Well, I mean, I think there is a very good question about why. And again, I'm not going to just attack the Tories, but we did inherit the system. Labour inherited the system from the Tories.
But you've made it, Matthew, you've made it worse. You've made it worse.
Why does a Brit go into bed and breakfast when an asylum seeker goes into a four-star hotel? The answer is because what they do is they've taken the whole of the four-star hotel and turned it into effectively a migrant camp, which is not sustainable. That's why the government is looking at things like buying old office blocks to turn them into... Socially and economically.
Yeah, well, one of the concerns I've got, apart from all of that, of course, is that I think this is going to create the...
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, like yourself, I'm an Oldham boy, so I remember as a kid the holidays in Blackpool were just incredible. And I think, you know, what we did with this survey was trying to understand where people said they wanted to go, but I think the key bit was why. You know, so we wanted to understand what was important about the UK holiday, and also just understand a little bit about, you know, attitudes to travelling abroad and the UK. And I think, for me, 61% of people said the reason they need a holiday is family time. So for me, to be honest, whether that's in Cornwall, whether it's Essex, Lancashire, it doesn't matter. You know, what really matters is that time together, isn't it, with your family, your loved ones, that I think we all need more and more in a nutty world in which we live at the moment. So, yeah, it's what you're doing on holiday as well as where you're going.
Andy, how can we find a good deal out of this? What are some tips and tricks for keeping the spending under control if you're looking for if you're going to Cornwall, for example? I'd imagine if you're looking in July or August, it's going to be pretty expensive, right?
My advice would be, you know, research really carefully where you want to go. Think about what the location can offer, and we've got a range of holiday parks. You know what the holiday park can offer to you. And just try and plan early. I think it just takes that pressure away from later on. You know, everyone's on a to a degree of budget these days. But again, I think it's that time together that people will be willing to pay for.
Of course, part of the research as well, Andy, was to do with the economy. 62% of people you asked said that Brits feel we should be going on staycations in order to support our economy. Just how important is that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's, you know, the British tourism economy is worth many billions per annum, employs, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in tourism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation. You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation. You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Hello, welcome back, everybody, to Patrick Christys tonight. Well, look, in case you couldn't gather, there have been a couple of minor technical issues. So really, you need to keep watching because absolutely anything could happen tonight. I mean, anything, all right? It's all going off. So let's start by taking you through just a couple of tomorrow's newspaper front pages. And luckily, they've been printed off and now they're massive. The Daily Telegraph, threat to take Reform donors OBE. Yes, that's right. So Charlie Mullins, OBE, might have his OBE taken off him. They're also going off on Reeves tries to buy off benefit rebels with £2 billion for housing. But who's in those houses, Mrs Reeves? Who's living in those houses? Let's go to the Daily Express. Mr Trump, wake up. Ukrainians are the victims. Yes, that's right. So the Daily Express is saying, look, after Russia's latest brutal raid, the Express's correspondent in Kiev is warning the US president. Let's do the Daily Mail. Labour to block bid to ban solar panels made by slaves. Labour to block bid to ban solar panels made by slaves. So it does appear that Ed Miliband is perfectly happy to put solar panels on schools and hospitals that have indeed been built by Chinese slaves. Yeah. One more one for this round. The Guardian. Domestic abusers driving more victims to suicide, warn police. They've also got Reeves in £2 billion pledge on social housing. Look, I'll never get sick of saying this. That does not mean that £2 billion pledge on social housing, that vulnerable, needy Brits are going to all get the social housing, veterans, etc. No. Who's going to get all the social housing? I'm telling you now, it's people who have just arrived in Britain. First things first, I actually think the story we should be doing first here, before we move on to Charlie Mullins' OBE, is whether or not Ed Miliband is happy to turn a blind eye to slavery and basically let solar panels built by slaves be placed on schools and hospitals. Jake, this just seemed a little bit, well, OTT, even for a fanatic like Ed Miliband, doesn't it?
Well, look, you know, we don't know all the details of this story, but one of the proudest things I took part in the last government was the Theresa May's campaign to block modern-day slavery. It's a tragic fact that there are more people in slavery now than at the height of the slave trade, which was banned, with Britain leading the way. But it does rather speak to this whole net zero conundrum that the Labour government finds itself in. We've done things like, you know, shut steelworks down in the UK to move all of those jobs to China, moving problems to a different country where, yes, they do have slaves, where they have much more polluting industry, doesn't make Britain net zero. It just makes Britain poorer. And if you thought Ed Miliband and the Labour Party couldn't go any lower, having slave-built solar panels on schools in the buildings where we are teaching young children about the hugely proud legacy Britain has in its crusade to abolish both historical and modern-day slavery is inexcusable.
Yeah, 100%. David Lammy standing up in the House of Commons. We want reparations. We want reparations. Well, is he going to stand by and let Ed Miliband, Matthew, put solar panels built by slaves line the top of schools in this country?
Well, as Jake says, we don't know all the details, but look, on the face of it, this seems just plain wrong, because I think solar panels should be on more of our public buildings. It's all part of our energy security. Anybody who has them on their house, you know, makes a fair penny by selling it back to the grid. But they should be made in Britain. They shouldn't be made by slave labour in China. One of the bonuses of the so-called Green Revolution is that we're going to create more jobs here in industry. And one of the Brexit bonuses was that we were able to choose to buy British. I'm not quite sure why that's not happening.
Well, I mean, Carol, look, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband admitted last week that some solar panels bought for a £180 million project for schools and hospitals will come from China. You know, you've got this. You've got the fact that some of the lithium batteries for electric vehicles are mined out of the ground by one-armed Congolese children who are being whipped by slave masters. You know, it's all of a sudden it looks like net zero is the bad thing, doesn't it? Maybe we should just drill for oil.
I think this kind of shows, you know, it paints loud and clear the zealotry of Ed Miliband. It actually, you know, it's for him, it's net zero at any cost, and here the cost is, you know, slaves are making his solar panels. He doesn't care who's making this. He just wants to be. He has this vision, this idealistic vision in his head that he wants us to be net zero by 2030. It's not going to happen. I don't know why he's still in government, because it's not just the nation that disagrees with him. It actually seems to be.
Well, he's unsackable, isn't he? Because he would be too much of a problem for Keir Starmer.
He's literally the most popular person, according to recent polling, in the Labour Party. So Keir Starmer can't stack him.
Yes, he is.
But let's talk about this in a bit of detail, because actually what is being... Matthew, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm really interested to hear what you think about it. Is there is an amendment being put down in the House of Lords to Ed Miliband's energy bill, which says the government should not, cannot, will not be allowed to buy solar panels where there is, and I quote, credible evidence that they have been built by slaves. And the Labour Party is whipping its MPs to vote against an amendment that all it says is you can't buy solar panels built by slaves. How, as a long-term Labour activist, can you think that's a good thing for this government?
Advice to Ed Miliband, which you've very kindly not said. Look, I suspect that's, as you know very well know, Jake, the amendments in the laws, it depends whether it's just done for political purposes or whether it's a serious attempt to change the legislation. I think it's illegal if they're made by slave labour anyway, under the modern slavery policies, which are quite right. It's one of Theresa May's biggest achievement in office. So, look, I think this, I hope Number 10 steps in and we see that we get, that we don't have slave labour.
It's this human rights when you pick and choose, isn't it? All of this refugees welcome lot, all of this, oh my gosh, we couldn't possibly send people to Rwanda. Oh, the Tories are so harsh. Oh, the minimum wage for people, all of this stuff. OK, here's a solar panel built by a Chinese slave. OK, well, if you're Labour, you'll just slap that on top of a school.
I don't think it's right. And, I'm a Labour man and through and through, and I don't think it's right. I think we should be creating green jobs in this country in places like Humberside and the North East, and we shouldn't be having them brought in from...
Why is Ed Miliband so popular within the Labour Party?
Well, because a lot of Labour members are very, very committed to the net zero agenda. And therefore,
but they know it's impossible by 2030.
And they think that Ed, because he sort of signals that he's opposed to some of the stuff that they don't like
slavery. I know they do
like on personal the payments and things. So they think that Ed is secretly the left-wing champion in government.
Well, I've got a couple of things coming your way, actually. So there is another freebie row engulfing Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. I can reveal that to you. It's a bit of breaking news. It's Freebie Gate Day 2. Rachel Reeves is officially in hot water for another freebie. That's in the build-up to the spring statement. I'll reveal all after the break. And I'm going to go to Elon Musk's father, Elon Musk. He's going to be joining us on a couple of big points. Firstly, though, why on earth a hard-left radical activist is trying to destroy Tesla? And what does Elon actually think about it all? Stay tuned.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest winter sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. We'll see some warm sunshine across parts of the Mediterranean over the next few days, but plenty of showers too. And certainly on Tuesday, a mixture of sunshine and showers across the Canaries, across Madeira. Fewer showers across Spain and Portugal, so some sunshine here. But notice across the central part of the Med, plenty of showers, some heavy, even thundery showers around. And brighter skies the further southeast you go across Turkey and Cyprus. Over the next few days, showers mainly in the east, brighter skies the further west you go.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This spring, the Chancellor steps up to the dispatch box to make a statement. But what kind of statement will it be?
Taxes, spending, growth, benefits, cost of living. What's changing? And more importantly, how does it affect you?
Does she have the headroom to make headway?
Will it ease the squeeze or tighten the grip?
Will businesses boom or struggle to survive?
And does the spring statement have real impact, or is it just political posturing?
GB News brings you the analysis that matters. Just what it means for your money, your home, your future.
The Spring Statement 2025, Wednesday on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. Now, very shortly, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to speak to Elon Musk's dad, because a lot's going on. Radical hard-wing left activists are basically targeting, radical hard left-wing activists, there we go, apologies everybody, are basically targeting Tesla. Now, they're doing it in numerous different ways. They are putting up things like, you know, posters about Elon Musk being literally Hitler. They are actually also torching Tesla. They're doing all sorts of stuff. They're even doing things like giving one-star reviews to Uber drivers who happen to drive a Tesla. It is happening over here, it's happening in America, it's happening in Canada. Make no mistake about this, this is mafia tactics, OK? And if this was happening the other way around, I invite you to picture a situation where someone who happens to be one of Keir Starmer's top advisors also owns a car company. And a load of people who would be classed as right-wing thugs wearing Union Jack bandanas decided that they were going to go to the headquarters of that car company and set it on fire. And then they were going to target anyone at random who happens to drive one of those cars. Would this not be rolling news? Yes, it would, but because these people are the great unwashed from the hard left, it doesn't seem to matter. Elon Musk's father, Errol, joins us now. Errol, thank you very much. Tremendous to have you on the show. What do you and Elon make about the fact that you are, well, essentially, these radical, some would call them domestic terrorists, are trying to put Tesla out of business?
Well, you know, they won't succeed. I mean, that's silly. What they're doing is they're trying to show that they have some power, and they're trying to exert that power. And, of course, it's misdirected power. It suggests there's a mental health problem with them. And they're hurting people whose properties have been paid for, you know, by hard-earned work. And, you know, it's just so wrong. And they are not going to achieve anything. There's also talk that some of them are actually paid groups to do this. So at the end of the day, you know, what is it that they're trying to achieve? Do they want the United States of America to continue on a route of the bankruptcy, continue to borrow money to pay people who don't work, who don't even come into the office? What is it that they actually want?
Well, do you think that the people who are trying to attack Tesla now are basically mentally ill?
They are what?
Basically mentally ill.
Yes, obviously you have to have a mental health problem if you do this kind of thing. There must be something wrong with your head, you know. Obviously, you know, it's a mental health problem. I've never done anything like that. I presume you haven't. So, yeah, no, it's something that, you know, I remember at school when I was, if I did well at school, I would come out to the bicycle sheds and find my bicycle tire slashed. So it's the behavior of the can't-dos. They can't do anything, so they do this. You know, it's an attempt to show that they have some power. But it's a very weak form of power.
Because what Elon Musk is trying to do with Tesla is create a sustainable, environmentally friendly car. So that you would have thought that the hard left would be quite in favour of that. He's also very recently rescued people from space. One of the main objectives, as he's very openly stated with SpaceX, is to make sure that if there is an extinction-level event on Earth, we might survive as a human race. Again, you would have thought that they might be quite in favour of that. He's also trying to remove excessive taxpayer-funded government waste that costs us all globally, but especially in America, hundreds of billions of pounds a year. Again, you might have thought that they'd be in favour of that, but they're not, are they? They just want to torch his company down.
Well, yes, there's absolutely no reasoning behind what they're doing. The reasoning behind what they're doing is to cause chaos and to show that they have some power. And at the end of the day, perhaps their aim is that the government in America will turn around and say, oh, sorry, we'll put all these people who were doing nothing and stealing money back into their positions so they can do it again. That's not going to happen. So what they've done is they've created a nice new source of revenue and income for car repair companies, and that's good. It's always good to create work.
Yeah, well, yeah. But can I just ask you, why do you think that they are more outraged about whether or not Elon Musk did a Roman or a Nazi salute than they are about things like in your country right now? I believe you're in South Africa right now. My understanding is there's an entire political party dedicated to killing white people. There's also a Christian genocide taking place in Syria, for example. There's all of these different things that people seriously could get outraged about, and what they are choosing to do is spray paint the word Nazi on the side of a Cybertruck in Los Angeles.
Well, you know, it's people who lack intelligence. They are of very low intelligence. They're easily manipulated. They may even be being paid to do this. It's not going to work. It's just a joke, you know. It's going to pass, and they're going to be caught, and they're going to spend a nice 20-year stint in a cell. So let them do it. You know, let them carry on and see how far they get. But it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Does Elon talk to you about this? Does he ever talk to you about this?
Yes, obviously, we talk about it. I mean, but we're not worried. We're not terribly worried about it. We're worried about people, you know, who may be in the cars and, you know, people throw a brick or something at the car and people are driving the car. That's a bit of a concern. The cars themselves can be repaired. It's a piece of metal. It's not serious. But you know, the people doing this lack intelligence. They simply lack intelligence. And it's unfortunate, you know. That's the thing. It's a mental health or a lack of intelligence.
Can I just ask you a slightly different question? I believe that you are in South Africa at the moment, so you might not be exactly across the UK news agenda. It's something that's just in the last hour here has actually gone quite big, right? Which is Elon's biological son, Vivian, has apparently hit out at Elon. She's called him a pathetic man baby, said that basically he can, well, I'm paraphrasing here, F himself, and accuses him of being transphobic and all of this stuff. I mean, she's really, or he's really, really, really gone for Elon here. I mean, he comes after Elon said that essentially she was basically dead because, or he was basically dead because they changed gender. Do you have any kind of contact with Vivian or anything, or what's the latest with that?
Well, you know, I mean, it's just a child, you know. A child has been misled, I would say, and has followed directions given to the child by others. And, you know, simply the language coming from the child is very, very gross, which tells you a lot as well. Very rough, ugly language. It tells you there's a mental health problem there. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So, yeah, we don't like it. Unfortunately, it's happening. And one prays for things to improve. You know, transgender behavior has happened in the past. It's not something that's brand new. It's been perhaps there for many centuries. But, you know, in this case, it's being made a topic that people must make a decision on one way or the other. And it's not the easiest thing to make a decision on. I've had people come to me in the past, you know, white in the face, men come to me pale and white in the face. And I've said to them, what's the matter? And they said, well, I've just discovered my son is gay. And his young teenager, for example, is gay. And we all knew that, more or less that the son was gay, but he didn't know. And it's a big shock to people. So you're playing with people's most, you know, raw emotions on subjects like that. It's not dead simple to just laugh it off, you know.
Do you think that the door would be open for Vivian, as they're known now? It does seem as though their relationship with Elon is pretty dire, really. So, what do you think?
No. I, as I said, I've had people who've come to me in the past, at least 3 of them, including a woman, who's come to me about their son being gay. And at the time, tremendous ructions and difficulty in the family. But as time went past, you know, it sort of calms down and everything's normal. Everybody gets used to it and they go on with their lives. It's not as though it goes on forever. It's just the point at which you're at the moment is a difficult one. And, you know, from the child's point of view in our case, the language being used and the behavior and the bombastic attitude of the child, it tells me the child is being encouraged by others, and that's wrong.
And you're not in touch with them, I take it, personally? You're not in touch with them?
I'll be what?
You're not in touch with them personally, are you as well, Vivian?
Oh, I know Vivian. I mean, I know the person. I'm not. Obviously, it's my son's business. I'm a grandfather. I don't have to. You know, it's one of the aunts or a grandfather. You can sort of just be there to give sweets and toys and talk nicely. You know, you're not in the position of having to lay down the law anymore. But it is a problem for us. And as I say, the behaviour of this particular child at the moment, you know, we're in the thick of it at the moment. As time goes by, you know, people accept people for what they are then, and things change. And, you know, if the child is genuine, one tends to accept this and get on with your lives. And a few years from now, it's not even an issue.
Right. Well, look, thank you very much, and sorry to land that curveball at you there at the end. I'm just afraid it was quite literally blowing up in our news agenda here as we came to you. So thank you very, very much. Always a pleasure to see you. Last time I saw you, astronauts were landing back from space. So who knows what next time might bring? But you take care, Errol Musk there. Until next time. Right, OK, loads more still to come your way. We have got some more front pages. There's another Rachel Reese freebie row, and there's something on the front page of The Sun about Meghan, which seems pretty scandalous. So stay tuned for all that. Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading into tomorrow, more cloud across central and southern parts with some spots of rain. Brighter in the north, though, with some warm, sunny spells. A different story tonight, though. Cloudier across the north with outbreaks of rain spilling in as a result of these frontal systems moving through this evening and overnight. Most of the rain largely light, but we could see some heavier spells across exposed coasts and northern areas. Eventually, this cloud and rain sinking southeastwards, moving into northern parts of Wales, northern parts of England too, and quite blustery for a time, particularly across Scotland. Across the south and southeast, staying dry with clearer skies and lighter winds, so it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the morning, and it will be a slightly chillier start here too. Across Scotland to start the day into tomorrow, most of the rain will have cleared away, perhaps just leaving a remnants of cloud, and can't rule out the odd shower just skirting across the Northern Isles, and still rather blustery here too. Quite a murky start across Northern Ireland, grey skies and some quite low cloud, and fairly similar across northern parts of England and Wales too, perhaps even seeing some spots of rain and drizzle. Across the south and southeast, a brighter start once any mist and fog clears, but through the course of the morning we'll continue to see this band of cloud and rain sink its way southwards, so any brighter skies soon being replaced by cloud, but any rain largely petering away. Turning brighter across Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some sunny spells here. Rather dry, but still the odd shower just skirting the Northern Isles. And with lighter winds, it should feel rather pleasant in the sunshine, with highs of around 14 to 15 Celsius. But even where we see that cloud linger across the south, still rather mild for the time of year. Into tomorrow with clearer skies, likely more mist and fog to start the day, perhaps some patchy frost. But through the course of the day, as a ridge of high pressure builds, there's going to be plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and southern parts. But we'll soon see a change once again into the northwest with more cloud and outbreaks of rain here. And it's likely the majority of us will see more rain as we head towards Friday, quite windy at times, and temperatures returning more towards average.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys. Tonight, I've got one more front page to bring you. It's the front page of The Sun, and it's Meghan a fast buck. Yes, it is. It's Meghan Markle, and Carol Malone's going to explain what this story is about. Carol.
Now, everyone knows that Meghan keeps the privacy of her children sacrosanct, right? We very rarely see her posing with her kids. Funny enough, today, she did have the two of the kids in her, on the Sun front page. She's got them both in her arms. Now, funny because a couple of hours later, she then launched a new shop.
Oh.
So...
Are you saying the two are linked, Carol?
I'm saying they're inextricably linked.
Oh.
The woman knows exactly. Now, it's not just me saying that.
No.
It's royal author and journalist Phil Dampier who says nothing happens by accident, and she would have thought this through and knows putting a photo of her, the kids out there, at the same time as launching a new clothing brand would get her maximum publicity. So tomorrow, yet again, she'll be splattered all over the papers. This is the woman who demands privacy, who wants privacy, except when she's promoting something new.
Yeah,
go on.
No, you go.
And I'm loving the fact that that Gwyneth Paltrow is launched into this little battle with her now.
Yeah.
So Gwyneth Paltrow said something very smart the other day. She said there's lots of room for all women to be making money and doing things like this. But since then, she's not stopped having a go at her. So,
Yeah, I like that.
So this morning on the front of the paper, Gwyneth was pictured in her crumply pyjamas making a grand breakfast, comparing it to Meghan the day before, who was fully kitted out when she was cooking something. So, what Meghan has done over this thing, this is tacky, what she's done. It's tacky, it's money-making. Maybe she's been encouraged by Netflix to do it. Who knows? But
It does come to something when you're being labelled tacky by someone who thought it was appropriate to release a candle that smelt like one of her vagina. I mean, that is a pretty... Maybe Meghan's going to go into a range of scented candles as well.
She is conceivably about to lose a battle of the tradwives, really, with a woman who released a range of vagina-scented candles.
Yeah.
And
she had... Bear in mind, just remember, with that in mind, shall we cast our minds back to the royal wedding, and think how much she had there, Meghan, really, and where she is now.
And remember her whole kind of ethos then. She was going to change the world. She was going to do amazing things for women. She was going to look after starving children. And what she ended up doing, cooking in a fake kitchen in Montecito.
Without her kids.
Without her kids.
Cooking for her kids without her kids.
Exactly. And
anyway, Matthew, you're obviously going to go into bat here for Meghan.
Well, I mean, I don't pull that one on me, Patrick. Look, I have to say,
do you care?
Well, no, I do care because I actually get upset that the. Do you know what the best answer to a pub question at the moment? It could be a pub quiz question.
Go on.
How many minutes have the Sussexes spent in Sussex?
Oh,
I don't actually know the answer off the top of my head, but it's not high.
That is, yes, that is a good one. That is a good one. Of course, look, just casting ourselves forward as well with one eye on Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be a massive day here at GB News. We've got reporters out and about all around the country. It's the spring statement. But just very quickly, Freebie Gate Day 2. Jake, you pointed this out. Now Reeves in hot water over free £276 theatre tickets. So it looks as though this is ramping up on Reeves.
Look, it's more and more pressure piled upon the Chancellor. I don't think for one second that Keir Starmer will sack her, because actually that would be an admission of his failure rather than hers. The truth is they're both failing, but they probably ain't going to own up to it.
I mean, this is quite embarrassing. This is going to keep building up.
Well, I mean, the problem you've got is, as you saw there earlier on, we had the clip of Heidi Alexander saying that she wouldn't, who's the Transport Secretary, saying she hasn't taken any tickets as an MP. You're clearly going to have every Labour minister on every broadcast round for the next few days just asked, have you taken tickets? Would you take tickets? So it's a bit of a mess. I mean, you know, I think Rachel would have been better to say no.
It's also this idea now that, again, by the way, I am not in favour of universal free school meals for every single child, but it's the fact that Labour are now potentially going to cut back on some of that.
They've denied that. There's still going to be a breakfast club in every school to give our kids a good start in every school across the country.
Because parents obviously can't be trusted to feed their own children.
I only stutter about Meghan, honest.
And questioning the triple lock as well. So we'll have to see what happens with the triple lock in the autumn statement. The Eye covers it. Apparently, Labour MPs are calling for that to be threatened. Who knows if...
So watch this space, and I think I know what might be leading the charge on tomorrow's show, which is, if it is true that Labour are going to scrap the triple lock for pensioners, wow, that is absolutely massive. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to my wonderful panel who've really earned their money this evening. Thank you for watching at home and listening on radio as well, and bearing with. We obviously had a couple of technical gremlins this evening, but hey, it happens. It's live telly. This is just the way it is. Thank you very much to the wonderful team there for pivoting. Headliners is up next. They are going to be with you, fingers crossed, for the next hour. Anyway, I will be back with you tomorrow at 9 p.m, and hopefully I get to do all the things that I actually plan to do. Oh, see you then.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Heading into tomorrow, more cloud across central and southern parts with some spots of rain. Brighter in the north, though, with some warm, sunny spells. A different story tonight, though. Cloudier across the north with outbreaks of rain spilling in as a result of these frontal systems moving through this evening and overnight. Most of the rain largely light, but we could see some heavier spells across exposed coasts and northern areas. Eventually, this cloud and rain sinking southeastwards, moving into northern parts of Wales, northern parts of England too, and quite blustery for a time, particularly across Scotland. Across the south and southeast, staying dry with clearer skies and lighter winds, so it's likely we'll see some mist and fog by the morning, and it will be a slightly chillier start here too. Across Scotland to start the day into tomorrow, most of the rain will have cleared away, perhaps just leaving a remnants of cloud, and can't rule out the odd shower just skirting across the Northern Isles, and still rather blustery here too. Quite a murky start across Northern Ireland, grey skies and some quite low cloud, and fairly similar across northern parts of England and Wales too, perhaps even seeing some spots of rain and drizzle. Across the south and southeast, a brighter start once any mist and fog clears, but through the course of the morning we'll continue to see this band of cloud and rain sink its way southwards, so any brighter skies soon being replaced by cloud, but any rain largely petering away. Turning brighter across Scotland, Northern Ireland, seeing some sunny spells here, rather dry but still the odd shower just skirting the Northern Isles, and with lighter winds it should feel rather pleasant in the sunshine with highs of around 14 to 15 Celsius, but even where we see that cloud linger across the south, still rather mild for the time of year. Into tomorrow with clearer skies, likely more mist and fog to start the day, perhaps some patchy frost. But through the course of the day, as a ridge of high pressure builds, there's going to be plenty of sunny spells, particularly across central and southern parts. But we'll soon see a change once again into the northwest with more cloud and outbreaks of rain here. And it's likely the majority of us will see more rain as we head towards Friday, quite windy at times, and temperatures returning more towards average.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could be a spring winner, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, like yourself, I'm an Oldham boy, so I remember as a kid the holidays in Blackpool were just incredible. And I think, what we did with this survey was trying to understand where people said they wanted to go, but I think the key bit was why. So we wanted to understand what was important about the UK holiday, and also just understand a little bit about, attitudes to travelling abroad and the UK. And I think, for me, 61% of people said the reason they need a holiday is family time. So for me, to be honest, whether that's in Cornwall, whether it's Essex, Lancashire, it doesn't matter. What really matters is that time together, isn't it, with your family, your loved ones, that I think we all need more and more in a nutty world in which we live at the moment. So, it's what you're doing on holiday as well as where you're going.
Andy, how can we find a good deal out of this? What are some tips and tricks for keeping the spending under control if you're looking for if you're going to Cornwall, for example? I'd imagine if you're looking in July or August, it's going to be pretty expensive, right?
My advice would be, research really carefully where you want to go. Think about what the location can offer, and we've got a range of holiday parks. What the holiday park can offer to you, and just try and plan early. I think it just takes that pressure away from later on. Everyone's on a to a degree of budget these days, but again, I think it's that time together that people will be willing to pay for.
Of course, part of the research as well, Andy, was to do with the economy. 62% of people you asked said that Brits feel we should be going on staycations in order to support our economy. Just how important is that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's, the British tourism economy is worth many billions per annum, employs, hundreds of thousands of people in tourism.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome to Headliners, where we're going to give you the best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. We're going to get straight into it with the Daily Mail. Labour to block